I mean, I think what's really at issue is whether this taxes income, and a question of what is income, and that brings into question the legality, the constitutionality of the proposal. What is problematic is that we don't have legislative text at this point, and so it is a bit speculative to say that it is or is not constitutional. But what the concerns are really center on the definition of income and what is actually being taxed.
What's the chance, though? I mean, I would argue to you, there's almost 100% chance that this goes to court. The question is, does it go to the Supreme Court, and how quickly does something like this wind its way there?
It would ultimately end up in the Supreme Court, certainly, but it will take a long time for any of these claims to make its way there. And I think that the real question is, what does the actual text of the law look like, and on what basis would the constitutional challenge be brought? Really, we have to look at, is this a wealth tax in the loosest sense of the term, or is this something else, another way to tax capital gains? And whether it's the latter, it still calls into question constitutionality.
Stephanie, how much money do you think can genuinely be raised by doing something like this? And what are the knock-on effects, planned or unplanned?
I think the estimates are that this tax would bring in something like 250 billion. So it's not nothing, but it doesn't come very close to closing the gap in terms of offsetting all of the spending that Democrats are looking to do. Andrew, I don't know. I'm sure there would be some unintended consequences. You're already hearing people like Senator Romney talk about how billionaires will simply respond by, moving income into things like fine art and so forth. And I guess to that, I would just say, well, watch out, because Democrats have a wealth tax plan for that maneuver as well.
Hey, Loren, just back to how it's kind of complicated, how it's certain to get challenged at the Supreme Court, how that could take some time. This is something Senator Joe Manchin was just talking about, how he doesn't think they're really all that near to having legislation written. It sounds like it would have to be legislation that would have to be carefully crafted to make sure that it withstands a test like that. Is this really something that you think a deal gets done by the end of this week?
I think it's very hard to imagine seeing legislative text by the end of this week. We have to remember that Senator Wyden's proposal was unveiled more than 2 years ago, and we still have yet to see legislative text with regard to what's commonly referred to as his mark-to-market plan. And so I am sure that they are working on it, but once it's unveiled, there's still time. There still needs to be time for it to be vetted, both within the caucus, by other lawmakers, and also by the public. And so we know that we're on a compressed timeline. The deadline is essentially the end of the year, and there's a lot of work to do between now and then to make sure that this is something that can not only pass constitutional muster, but also garner the support of other members of the caucus.
Hey, Stephanie, if we could make you king or queen for the day, and you thought there was a way to raise money from the highest income earners, but not this way, is there a different way you would do it?
Yeah, sure. I think and you've talked about this for months on this program, I think the lowest hanging pay for fruit is enforcement. That is something that I think the American people clearly understand. We shouldn't have tax cheats. We shouldn't have very wealthy people hiding and failing to disclose income they ought to be paying tax on. So, the IRS commissioner has estimated that there's as much as $1 trillion annually out there that isn't captured that people ought to be paying in federal income tax. So I think, providing some more resources to the IRS, stepping up enforcement, that is a lot of money. The estimates are that it's in the hundreds of billions over the first 10 years, but then you get into the trillions in the out years. So that's the low-hanging pay for fruit here, if this is the game that lawmakers are committed to playing.